House unveils electric car from the National Automotive Design and Development. On security, House urges enhanced welfare for the armed forces. And House investigates diversion of crude oil. Hello and welcome to another edition of You and Your Reps. My name is Victor Azo. Thank you for joining us. Let's begin by telling you that the first locally assembled electric car has been unveiled at the House of Representatives. National Assembly correspondent Lamia Lee reports.
The National Automotive Design and Development Council is the brain behind this feat. Showcasing the electric vehicle to the House Committee on Public Accounts, the Director General of the Council, Jelani Aliyu, says the car could travel for 482 kilometers and does not use petrol or diesel.
We're working on building charging stations along the way. Right now we're doing 3 pilot programs with 3 universities. University of Lagos, University of Nigeria Nsukka, University of Ofodio University. We will understand the challenges of superchargers, and then we hope to expand it in collaboration with the private sector to all sectors, to all localities in Nigeria.
The council, he adds, is currently working with 3 domestic banks to provide single-digit interest financing for a variety of vehicles to be made or assembled in Nigeria. The Chairman House Committee on Public Accounts, Oluwole Oke, expressed satisfaction on this development.
It is a pleasurable drive, no noise, calm.
The council brought the electric vehicle to the National Assembly to justify to the committee utilization of funds it received over the years, sequel to a query from the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation.
In the meantime, the House of Representatives is canvassing an improved welfare for its security personnel, especially those in battlefields and other combat operations. Now, this is part of recommendations of the House Committee on the Army following an investigation into the purported resignation of more than 300 soldiers in 2020.
Chairman of the House Committee on Army, Representative Abdulrazak Namda, says findings by the committee reveal that resignation of soldiers occur yearly, as they are free to do so after at least 10 years of service. The report of mass resignation, as reported in some sections of the media, the committee noted was misleading.
The Army should continually embark on orientation of soldiers, both old and new, about the reality of their job and their need to be committed to their country. This will reduce the number of soldiers leaving the Army due to loss of interest.
The House, however, stressed that welfare of security personnel and delivery of such packages must be fair and equitable. Plenary adopted a motion from Representative Ahmed Jaha intimating the federal government on the need to secure the release of Pastor Bulus Wikura, abducted by Boko Haram in Chibok, Borno State last December, and the call from Representative Balarabe Salami appealing for the provision of relief materials to victims of banditry in Ilela, Sokoto State. The House has mandated committees on appropriation, finance and public accounts to engage ministries, departments and agencies of government to work out a strategic plan to enhance payments of utility bills, as moved by Representative Ojo Kingsley.
MDAs are often accused of not paying utility bills to the bodies responsible for the collection, thereby making it impossible to remit the funds to the government, and this has adverse effects on IGR.
A bill to establish Sustainable Development Fund and a bill to amend National Agency for Population Programs and Development passed second reading.
And between June 2018 and July 2019, almost half of the 10.9 million barrels of crude oil allocated for domestic supply was alleged to have been diverted. Now, this situation cost Nigeria $339 million of revenue deficit. Now, the House of Representatives is set to investigate.
The issue was raised as a matter of urgent public importance by Representative Abubakar Maki Eliman, who pointed out that under the Direct Sales Direct Purchase Scheme (DSDP), refineries of the Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation were allocated 5.2 million barrels of crude oil in 2018, which allegedly are unaccounted for.
The state of missing critical national revenue and is worried that unless these leakages are plugged, they will deepen the national deficit even further.
House Committee on Petroleum Downstream has been mandated to investigate the need for the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) to review upward federal constituencies in the country in line with constitutional provisions as highlighted by the Minority Leader Ndudi Elumelu was adopted at plenary.
From 1999 to date is beyond 10 years, and INEC has not complied with that constitutional provision.
House members also urge authorities to take preventive measures against the outbreak of Ebola disease as moved by Representative Unyime Idem.
Mandate the federal government through the Ministry of Health to enhance surveillance at point of entry to respond to any suspected outbreak of Ebola coming from the neighboring countries.
Meanwhile, the House at plenary urged the federal government to lift employment embargo placed on ministries, departments and agencies as moved by Representative Sani Bala.
It happened that the president made a categorical statement that henceforth there will be he placed an embargo on employment. That was in 2019. Despite that, since 2017 there had not been any recruitment exercise by the Federal Civil Service officially. That has stopped any form of employment in the mainstream civil service. 2019 gone, 2020 gone, we are now in 2021. You have people that have died within the period, you have people that have retired within the period, you have people that voluntarily even said, I am tired of this working, and they have written their resignation. So what of those people? They need to be replaced over a period of almost 3 years now. And if a permanent secretary or a director retires, you can be able to use, if you are talking of funding, you can be able to use the money for that permanent secretary to recruit at least 3 graduates. And if you consider the kind of situation we found ourselves every blessed day, people are going to universities, they are graduating, they go to do their NYSC, and then they finish their NYSC with a certificate and go back to home to be liability to their parents. We don't like it. I know that the federal government has tried, and this blockade, I'm sure the president mean well, but sometimes you just have to temper justice with mercy, in a sense that if you consider the situation we find ourselves, agriculture is the main employer of labor, then federal government, and if the federal government can place embargo in the mainstream civil service for this long, I think there is a need for the president to consider lifting this embargo, at least for now. Even if it is once, let it be lifted so that our graduates, those that left the work, can be replaced. In the motion in the prayers is that the federal government should declare vacancies within the head of service to declare vacancies in all federal agencies, MTAs. And then after that declaration, then we expect that the federal civil service should go ahead to employ people, because we have so many massive graduates. And coupled with the unemployment brought up by this COVID-19, so many people are becoming unemployed. The artisan, the mainstream, so I feel that there is a need to lift the ban on employment, and the motion was accepted wholeheartedly by all members, all the 360 of them, answer in affirmative.
Repeal is the removal or reversal of a law. Now, there are 2 basic types of repeal. Repeal with a reenactment of the repealed law, or repeal without any replacement, which more commonly applies in Nigeria's Green Chambers. Chairman, House Committee on Rules and Business, Representative Abubakar Fulata, will guide us.
Repeal means there is an existing law, but the provisions of that law has been found to be not relevant to the situation at hand. Okay, so that bill or that law can be repealed. Now, we normally do repeal and reenactment. Okay? You do away, you remove the provisions of the old law and replace them with the provisions of the new requirement, new law. Okay? Repeal and reenactment. So the old provision, all provisions are removed, they are repealed. Then they are replaced, reenactment, with new provisions, repeal and reenactment.
And now we continue to sample opinion on the wishes of the various constituencies with regards to the ongoing constitution review in the 9th House of Representatives. Now this time we engaged the member representing Ethiop Federal Constituency of Delta State on what they will be bringing to the table.
They have brought an amendment to the constitution which has to do with the area of nomination of ministers and commissioners at the federal and the state, and the period that they should take. The proposal is for a maximum of 30 days because we find out that most times governors, president, elected president, they run the state as sole administrator just with the secretary to government, both at the state and the federal, and they just have a chief of staff and they start running the country or the state as a sole administrator, which is unacceptable. It's an aberration, and I think the constitution frown at it. But because there's a lacuna, there's an opening that they are keen into. So we did the amendment. It has passed the second reading. And again, you don't just bring people for. You don't just nominate people without portfolio, because without portfolio, Nigerians, the parliament cannot ask questions that are applicable to that office. So that is part of what we are looking at to amend. Then on a general note, the way it is now, I think for me, one of the issues that I want to see done is to reduce the baggage that the part of the constitution that is referred to as the exclusive legislature is carrying. It is too heavy, it's too weighty, and it's time to do proper devolution of power, water it down so that the states and the local government can actually participate. For instance, I don't see why the federal government should be holding on to the road in faraway Delta State. I don't see why they should be bothered about what happened in our hospital and say they're creating hospitals. I don't see why they should be bothered about even education. The federal government should be looking at national security, intelligence, and maybe finance in some areas. The issue of resource control is one key part that I think it will be very, very healthy. I should look at. Then I have another one that has to do with the electoral system. Presently, if we're talking about having a free and fair election, even the Constitution still has its own fault and need to be amended by the grace of God in the coming weeks. I am bringing that to the floor so that we can now take, in foreign countries like the United States of America, once you have the social security number, you cannot do one thing twice. The moment you do it, that is it. You are done. When you come again, the system will not allow you. But here, people register 10 times, 20 times. People have lost election because of the fact that they register multiple times. So, and if we're trying to be fair and have a free and fair election, we must do it in such a way that people cannot register more than once. And in doing that, I think the only thing that we have for now is the national identity number. I want to ensure I am trying to bring that into the Constitution so that people can only register once using the names. Once that is done, it is the responsibility of INEC to look into the register and see that people registration are validated alongside with the names so that nobody can register twice again. Then again, after doing that at the constitutional amendment level, in the Electoral Act, it has to be amended too to ensure that they are in tandem.
Recent incidents of abduction of students in some parts of the country has continued to generate commentary on possible solutions. But is there a role in this for the legislature? You and your reps took out some time to pick the thoughts of the people on what the lawmakers might do to help.
Day in, day out, we hear stories of children being kidnapped in different schools in some parts of the country. Our legislature should do the needful, in the sense that they should be able to pass a law that to make sure that security agencies are being deployed into schools all over the country.
Our children are at stake. We cannot go to school again. Any mother that sends her children to school, you will sleep, your eyes is not closing. Your mind will be there because one day you will just hear that they have taken them to bush. So they should take a very serious this thing to rescue the children. Otherwise, honestly, Nigerian education is going down every day.
I think National Assembly has a role to play to call the attention of the executive arm of government to look at where we got it wrong. The government really needs to begin to deploy. It has no choice. Deploy security forces, to the schools. At least we should also, the SSS have a role to play. We need to really focus on intelligent gathering. Because these people don't come from the sky. People will not come in their numbers, kidnap close to about 200 people. And there is no intelligence that, look, something is wrong. You understand? So along the route, there should be intelligence. Yeah, I think the government security forces need to really work again with the communities. Yeah, every school should have access to, emergency numbers of security personnel. If they notice anything, they can easily alert.
This week on You and Your Reps, the committee segment takes a look at the workings of the House Committee on Power. We caught up with the committee's deputy chairman, Francis Waive.
First, we are looking at our first our duty really is lawmaking. So we're looking at the laws governing power in the country. Particularly at the moment, we are looking at the Power Regulatory Act and seeing the deregulation that took place a couple of years ago, and seeing the areas where we could propose legislation and work on legislation that will ensure that Nigerians have stable power supply. For example, there are areas that were exclusively for government in that arrangement. For instance, generation, private and public, but then transmission was completely government, distribution joint. We are getting to a point now where that point of transmission might be blurred, in that we are beginning to look at possible amendment to the law in such a way that generation and distribution can just go together in local entities as one of the ways to solve these power problems. And this is actually coming from the view of the other sources of power other than gas and hydro. We're now looking at solar and environmental friendly sources. And if you're thinking solar, then where you generate, you might as well consume at that point. So you now avoid the loop of transmission. So the idea of all power being, first of all, going to the national grid before being distributed, those are areas we are now thinking of tinkling with the law in terms of amending the law. And we also have duties of oversight. So we go around to see that these agencies, either in generation or transmission or distribution, are carrying out their mandate in accordance with the law and for the benefit of Nigerians. We have a mandate to ensure that Nigerians are paying for electricity supply and not for darkness. Nigerians must not pay for darkness. That's on the area of oversight. So all of this we are doing to ensure that Nigerians' life is better for our people. And of course, the duty of representation is paramount for every legislator. So when our constituents come with complaints of their experiences, we are able to bring the agencies with consumers together to ensure that complaints are well handled and our people are better off. In the area of amending the law, we have got propositions from some agencies like the National Electricity Regulatory Commission. The Association of Gencos have also sent in a paper. Several other organizations are doing the same, and we are studying all of these. On oversight, we have visited quite a number of generation plants and companies to see what they are doing, and particularly trying to beat this problem of undelivered capacity, to be sure that, because we have a situation currently where most of the power that's generated is not distributed by the distributing companies. So we are going around finding out how that can be resolved. I remember my chairman, Alhaji Magaji, engineer Aliyu Magaji, we were in one of the plants the other day, and he had to make calls. This plant is producing. Why are you not receiving it at the national grid? And he insisted, and instantly the power that was being produced there was uploaded into the national grid. Those are the kind of things that we are doing. And you will notice that perhaps the volume of our supply is increasing. In the last couple of months, we hit over 5,000 megawatts, and I think that's one of the highest in recent times. Generation, rather. For distribution, we still have a couple challenges, but we are looking forward to the Siemens program becoming a channel for solving most of these infrastructure problems, because the Siemens project is for infrastructure to solve the infrastructural problems in three aspects: generation, distribution, transmission and distribution. There are major problems here now in transmission and distribution. So as this project begins, things will definitely get better. And the tariff thing too have also helped with the service reflective tariff that is being implemented right now. It's helping, and there are some areas in the country where good number of hours are being enjoyed, and it's improving generally.
We wish the House Committee on Power all the very best in this onerous national assignment. And that's you and your reps for the week. We hope you enjoyed it. Next week promises to be even better. My name is Victor Azu. Thanks for watching.